You have 5 seconds to subscribe, or he will be behind your back. 911 operators, what's the dumbest call you've ever received? I'm a telephone triage nurse, so not 911, but a 24-hour hotline for people to call when they are having a medical problem, but aren't sure if they need to go to the ER or not. I have a few favorite stories, but I'll share this one. A quite pregnant, don't remember exactly how far along, but definitely past 30 weeks, woman calls to say that her doctor told her to refrain from having sex for the rest of the pregnancy and she didn't understand why. I looked at her file and saw she was having preterm contractions, so I explained that sexual activity can cause contractions, so it was safer to abstain, so the baby could stay inside as long as possible. She tearfully exclaims, "But how will I feed the baby?" Me, "I'm sorry, ma'am, can you repeat that?" Patient, "How will I feed the baby if I can't have sex?" The patient was convinced that her baby was living off of her boyfriend's semen and that it would starve if they stopped having sex. I explained about the umbilical cord, etc., but she refused to believe me until I asked her about single moms, lesbian moms, etc., and asked how she though their babies fed and grew. After a moment of silence, she thanked me and started to hang up the phone, but not before I heard her screaming her boyfriend's name. That man had a good thing going for a while there. I honestly wasn't sure if I felt more sorry for him or a baby growing up in that household. Edit. Thanks for the gold. I did triage for a few years at a family practice clinic, and I had to call 911 at least twice for people who refused to. Why would you call your primary physician's office to say my throat is closing up? I said I'm hanging up and calling 911 for you right now, and I heard a whispered scream of no. She was transported with an allergic reaction and was extremely angry with me due to her bills and tried to have me fired. The second time was a woman describing stroke-like symptoms and wanted to see our nurse practitioner who didn't have an opening for like 3 weeks. I told her that her symptoms sounded like a stroke and that she needed to call 911, and she kept insisting I schedule her with the NP. I finally hung up and called for her, and she was in fact having a stroke. Oh geez, I've had that happen so much. We are discouraged from calling 911 for people because we didn't necessarily know if they were at their home address and couldn't give directions, so I only did that a few times for what I felt were true emergencies, but I called the non-emergency police number and asked them to go check on patients quite a bit. Most of those calls resulted in the patient ending up in the ER one way or another. Most of the time, it was people like your first patient who were scared of the bill an ambulance and an ER visit would entail. It's truly disgusting how our medical system scares away people who really need care. Had a drunk person call to report he was being harassed. Truth was, he was being arrested by our officers for throwing pizza at people. All I heard in the background was one of my officers saying to him that better not be our dispatcher on the phone, followed by some muffled talking, and my officer taking the phone and saying he will be taking a ride with us now, and hung up. Still laugh about it to this day. Also had a drunk woman call 911 because she couldn't remember her phone passcode. I totally did that phone passcode thing once. I got blocked out of my phone for entering the wrong passcode, so stupid teenage me thought the emergency button connects to the phone center to fix my password. 911, what's your emergency? Wait, what? Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. So it's not an emergency? No, it's not an emergency. So sorry. Maybe embarrassing. Well, at least you realized your mistake and got off the call pretty quick. Would be 100x worse if you called and insisted they fix your phone. 911, what's your emergency? I'm not able to log onto the phone. Okay, what is your emergency then? Sir, I'm not a computer person, so I don't know. Do you know what address you're at? I don't know what that is. Okay, when you called us, did you call from a mobile phone, a home phone, or? Sir, I have already told you that I am not a computer person. You're refusing to help me, so I'm going to hang up. Caller, a deer just swam across the river behind my house. Me, okay. Caller, well, I'm worried it might be cold. Me, well, there is nothing we can do about a deer being cold. Didn't it run off after swimming the river? Caller, yes. Me, well, ma'am, it's a wild animal and I'd guess it's going to be fine. Caller, okay. That kind of stupid is dangerous. Oh dear god, time to fking shine. Had a lady trying to call an ambulance because she opened a package from Amazon at home and she was afraid that her kid was about to have a major allergic reaction from the packing peanuts because the kid was allergic to peanuts, and when her kid mentioned what they were called, she freaked out. Peanut allergy here. I just had to lay my phone down and sigh. My mom works as a 911 operator. She got a call one time from a girl in gym class at the local high school. She was in a panic and completely serious, saying there was a squirrel on top of a telephone pole at the school and it wasn't coming down. How could someone possibly think this was an emergency? The squirrel might fall. Not an operator, but my now ex-boyfriend who called in. He usually worked a late shift, walking home about 2 AM. This shift he got off work a few hours late. BF, I'd like to call and report a fire. We live in a fire-prone area, and it was a season. 911. Where is it located, sir? BF, on the hillside just east of city. 911. Can you be more specific? Typing away in the background. BF, yes, gives a more detailed location. Oh god, it's getting bigger. The whole top of the hill is on fire now. 911. Stay calm, sir. We are sending somebody out. BF, it's getting bigger. Doesn't anybody else see this? It's lighting up the sky around it. It's huge. Oh god. Oh, wait. 911. Sir? BF, I'm so sorry. I'm not usually out this time of night. I just got off work late. That's the sun. 911. BF, I'm so sorry for wasting your time. There is no fire. That's just the sun rising. Never mind. I'm really embarrassed. 911. That's fine, sir. I will cancel the call. Thank you for calling. Edit. Former boyfriend said I forgot a detail, so I added it in. I can sympathize. I worked nights for a while. Near the end of my tenure, my boyfriend was showing me these pictures of sunsets that just didn't look right, and he kept laughing. I couldn't quite place what was wrong, but even though they were all local spots I saw pretty often, it seemed off. They were sunrises. I forgot what those looked like. Edit 1. Why is my highest rated comment about my stupidity? A friend of mine once called 911 when he was a kid because his aunt was having a baby at the hospital. Reminds me of a family I used to babysit for. Dispatcher, what's your emergency? 4-year-old. I got a cut on my finger. Dispatcher, is your finger bleeding? 4-year-old. Yeah, a little bit. Dispatcher, okay sweetie, is your mom or dad there to help you clean it up and put a band-aid on it? 4-year-old, my mommy's, but she fell over and isn't talking anymore. He didn't call 911 because of his cut. He called because he showed his mom his paper cut and she passed out from the little pinprick of blood. She hit her head and was laying unconscious on the ground. Edit, you guys want to know more, so here's more. Mom was taken to the hospital. They gave her oxygen or something, I'm not sure, but she woke up that day and was fine. No brain damage or anything. She's really squeamish, but an awesome mom. Nick, the 4-year-old, got a super cool Elmo band-aid. Nick's older brother Mitchell had a firefighter visit his class at school that week. When he got home from school that day, Mitchell called 911 to see if it was true. The firefighters came to the house and explained to Mitchell and Nick when to call and when not to call. I guess little Nick was listening. He got the paper cut a few days after the firefighters came. Paramedic here. I had a guy who picked his wart at 3 AM and it was bleeding. That's it. That's the story. I know someone that called an ambulance in the middle of the night because they thought they were dying from what must be internal bleeding. After some time in the ER, it turned out it was just a really expensive fart. My great uncle insisted we rush him to the hospital because he thought he was dying from internal bleeding, raving about how his poo was black. So we rush him to the hospital and he's fine. Turns out he got stoned and ate 2 packs of Oreos. Edit. Thanks for the poop reports, everybody. I have been in the 911 biz for over 22 years. If a caller starts the call with "I swear I'm not crazy," then you need to buckle up for some insanity. A guy started a call with those words after escaping from his apartment and running to the closest 7-Eleven. He swore that his roommates were turning into giant crabs. The was going to show the officers that they were currently in giant cocoons transforming. As you might expect, he was tripping balls. I had to start a call like that once because a guy in a Spider-Man costume was running around breaking people's windows. The unfriendly neighborhood Spider-Man. XXXX. I need to know what happened to this person. XXXX. Not an operator, I'm a prosecutor. Guy lived in a rooming house that had a public area where all the residents could hang out. It had a microwave in it, provided by the landlord. Guy called 911 around midnight one night because the microwave wasn't there. The conversation with the dispatcher went something like this. Dispatcher, so, you called 911 because a microwave you don't even own is missing? Did you ask your landlord if he took it? Guy, no. Dispatcher, well, that's not an emergency, sir. Guy, but I'm really hungry. Meanwhile, a person with an actual emergency had to be put on hold briefly because this guy was adamant that this was the worst thing to ever happen. The genius insisted that police officers be sent to his rooming house as soon as possible because of the missing microwave. Officers showed up so they could cite him for improper use of 911. The guy pleaded not guilty and requested a jury trial. He represented himself. The jury was out 20 minutes before it announced its guilty verdict. I have to assume that was 17 minutes of laughing at the dude's stupidity, 2 minutes of catching their breath, and 1 deliberating. Police 911 operator here for 15 years. The stories I have. I've had someone call 911 to know how long to smoke a brisket. I've had someone call 911 to ask what the fines for parking tickets are. I've had someone call 911 to wish me a Merry Christmas when I was working at 3 AM on Christmas morning. I've had someone call 911 report that their trunk wasn't opening and they wanted to know what to do about it. I've had someone call 911 in a rural community because a black dude was walking down the street and we don't get their kind here. I worked on 9/11. I had people call 911 4 weeks after because there were 3 brown guys in a car and I thought you should know about it. I've had someone call 911 because they were lonely about 1,000 times and many more. I've done this for a while. Do people abuse the system? Sure. But for the most part I'm happy with how our children are taught to only use 911 if it's a life or death emergency or if there's a crime in progress. How far down is it snowing? All the way to the ground. Now get the FK off my emergency line. The neighbor is giving my horse drugs 0500 or earlier every single day. Usually followed up about an hour later by it's crack. Lady, nobody is giving your horse drugs. Drugs are expensive. And my personal favorite exact quote. My washing machine is telling me to file for bankruptcy. This was a confused elderly lady, so it was actually a little sad, but I'm including it because it left me completely speechless at the time. I think my response was, what? Edit. Since everyone is worried, washing machine lady was fine. It was a minor medical call. We had an old woman call in and say there was 2 guys dressed in blue trying to break in her house and rape her. So we sent about 6 cops over to her house. It turns out it was the gas company reading her gas meter. Thank you very much for watching. In the comments under the video, write what you think about all this. And also do not forget to watch our other videos. Bye.